Coral bells, that perfect plant to add color and pop to those full shade locations in your landscape. In this video, I'm going to show you my 7 favorite cultivars of coral bells, talk about the pros and cons in coral bells, how to water, how to fertilize, and so much more. Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Warren, and you're watching The Plant Doctor. Let's get started. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons of coral bells. So coral bells can take some pretty heavy shade. Most of these are going to be full shade to part shade. And they're going to give us, as you can see here, a vast array of colors where these are areas in the garden where it's difficult to get color. Think about plants that have a lot of color that also grow in full shade. Our plant palette there is very limited. But you can see here, we've got lime greens all the way to dark purples and reds and everything else in between. Additionally, we get flower stalks. Now, they're not extremely drought tolerant. That is a con with coral bells. If you go through a drought, you're going to find yourself having to water. They like moist, well-drained soils, but another positive for coral bells, they are deer resistant. I'm not going to say deer proof because I know I'm going to get hammered in the comments. If deer get hungry enough, they'll eat anything, but this is not their first preference. They're not going after these like they would say pansies or some other delicacy that deer find in your yard. These are way down on the list, so if you have moderate deer pressure, these are going to be safe. If you have severe deer pressure to the point to where they're like eating leaves off of your arborvitaes, they're probably going for the coral bells as well. So as I mentioned earlier, these are not drought tolerant plants. So when we're watering coral bells, they prefer about 1 inch of rain per week. So if you're not getting constant rain, you may find yourself having to water coral bells. Also, if they're in part sun to a little bit more in the full sun side, so you've got them in that 4 to 8 hour window of direct sun, if you're getting that 6 to 8 hour window in the middle of summer, they'll survive there, but you may find yourself having to water these daily. Luckily with coral bells, there's a very minimal fertilizer input that we need. I like to use an organic fertilizer, and I put this out in late winter, and that's going to be a product from Espoma. And so just take a handful of this, you spread it around your Heuchera plant, your coral bell, and as the soil temps begin to rise, bacteria in the soil begin to feed on that organic fertilizer, slowly releasing it to your coral bells. If you have a dark, rich soil, you may not even need to fertilize at all. Where I'm at, I'm in a sandy soil, and so they'll need a little additional food to make it through the spring and the summer. This is Magma, USDA zones 4 through 9. Gets about 24 inches tall, 24 inches wide, so 2 by 2. Interesting thing about Magma is the variation in the color of the leaves. So the more mature leaves are going to be more of a green color. The intermediate leaves are going to have an orangish, reddish hue to them. And then the very newest growth is going to have more of a pink hue. And then the underside of all these leaves, regardless of age, is a really vibrant red. This is going to bloom a little bit later than some of the other ones we're looking at in this video, but it is going to have a pink stalk with a whitish flower when it does bloom. This is caramel or caramel, however you wish to pronounce that word. And this one is USDA zone 4 through 9. Gets a little bit bigger than some of the other ones we're looking at. This one can get 24 tall, 24 wide. Also can take a little bit more sun than some of the other cultivars. So if you have an area that you're wanting to grow coral bells in, but you feel like we may get a little bit too much sun, look at caramel, and it could be a good option for you. As you can see here, newer growth comes out more of a reddish bronze color, and then as the leaves mature, they turn to a more green. The flower on this one will be white. It throws a pinkish white stalk and will have a white flower. This is Tapestry, and it's one of our earlier bloomers. You can see here some flowers already coming up we'll talk about here in a second. USDA zones 4 through 9 on Tapestry. One of our more dwarf cultivars. This one's only going to get 6 to 8 inches tall, so this is pretty much a mature height for Tapestry. If you look at the leaves here, if you look at the veins, The veins are almost this dark black or very dark purple in color. It's a nice contrast to the light shades of green that we see with the rest of the leaf. Flower color, as you can see here, it has more of a green-pink stalk, and then the flowers here are going to be pink as well. This is Alabama Sunrise. Striking contrast between around the veins of the leaf and the foliage here. USDA zones 4 through 9. Let's look at the foliage here. Almost a crimson or maroon inside with light green on the outside. Perhaps that's where Alabama Sunrise gets its name. University of Alabama being crimson, and these have crimson in the inside vein part of the leaves. This one gets quite tall. It can get up to 24 inches tall. It'll also get that big around as well. Puts a flower spike up later in the season. Here again, kind of a whitish, pinkish color that we've seen a lot with these coral bells. This could be considered the dwarf cousin of caramel. This is Southern Comfort. USDA zones 4 through 9 for Southern Comfort, where caramel gets really large, 24 by 24. Southern Comfort is much smaller, 12 by 12. All the same foliage characteristics, all the same flowering characteristics as caramel, just in a dwarf form. So if you're planting in containers in shade and your containers are too small for caramel, they can't contain something that's 2 feet by 2 feet, look at this one right here. Southern Comfort, 12 inches by 12 inches. It'll be the perfect coral bell for those containers. This one pops. This is bright green. This is citronelle. So citronelle is USDA zones 4 through 9. It's going to be 12 to 16 inches wide and tall, and it's going to put up a green stalk with a whitish flower later in the season. We've already looked at some that have a flower here in early spring. Some will have mid-spring flowers, others will have late spring flowers. But this is when you need some color, some vibrance in your garden, in those shady spots that are very hard to find color for. Look at citronelle. That is going to pop in those shady locations in your garden. I've saved the most unique one for last. This is Purple Rainforest. I just love the contrast, these dark purple leaves and even darker veins that we see with Purple Rainforest. This one's an earlier bloomer. We have a dark purple stalk with these very light, dainty flowers. USDA zones 4 through 9 on Purple Rain. It's going to get about 8 inches tall, 12 inches wide. It gets wider than it does tall. And I want to show you some striking color contrast. If you're into using complementary colors or contrasting colors in the garden, let's compare two things real quick. Look at the contrast between citronelle and Purple Rainforest. Say we have 5 citronelle planted and 5 Purple Rainforest planted side by side or staggered amongst each other. The contrast is striking. If you're looking to draw attention to a shady area of your garden, consider this color combination: coral bell, citronelle, coral bell, Purple Rainforest side by side. Companion plants for coral bells. Hostas are fantastic companion plants. Most hostas are going to be green with variegations of white and perhaps even gold in them. And the contrast of, in particular, darker coral bells, the white and the gold variegation in the hosta contrasting with, say, a purple or a black coral bell is really attractive in those full shade situations. Also, fatsia, in particular, variegated fatsia. So fatsia in general, depending on cultivar, they're going to get a little bit taller than coral bells. So these can get 12 to 24 inches tall with some of our more dwarf varieties. And then some of these can get up to 3 feet tall, really tall. And so they can tower over the coral bells, adding a striking contrast with variegation over the top of our already beautiful coral bells. I hope this video helps you with your shade locations in your landscape and garden. These are some excellent selections to add some color and pop where it's very difficult to get some color in those dark corners in the lawn and garden. If you have a favorite cultivar that you like that we did not go over in this video, please share that with us down in the description below. Here we're a community of learners. I'm always looking for new cultivars, so if you can put me on a new cultivar, I would be extremely grateful. Guys, as always, thank you for watching The Plant Doctor, and until next time, happy gardening.